All right, hello and welcome back to Rebound with Resilience, a podcast dedicated to raise your resilience mindset and mental wellness. And on today's episode, I'm extremely excited to have a university senior of mine and one of the co-founders of Our Grandfather Story, Kai Yuan, on the show. Hi, Kai Yuan.
Hello. Hi.
Sorry to make you repeat yourself. We actually recorded for about 5 minutes and then I realized I forgot to record it. But yes, let me just repeat. I think if most of you listening to this, you are probably already a fan of Our Grandfather's Story or you have consumed their content before. But for those of you that don't know, I'd like to share more about Our Grandfather's Story and give you, a brief, hopefully I do it a bit of justice. Okay, so Our Grandfather's Story is primarily a media publishing or production company, arguably best known for its, as the name suggests, telling stories, right? Stories of our elders, our neighbors, of tradition, of neglected, misconceived groups in Singapore. And because of that, it has crafted a very distinct and refreshing brand in the local media scene. Sometimes, I guess, known for a bit clickbaity, or some people might say there's a little bit clickbaity sometimes, but OGS has stood out in that regard to create very distinct content. And in 4 years, they have amassed close to 400K followers on Facebook and about 200K, over 200K subs on YouTube. And some of its videos, of course, crossing millions of views. So to me, I'm saying this again for the third time, but it's been a massive inspiration. And there's a selfish reason for hosting you on the podcast because I want to learn from you. Yeah. So today we are going to talk about, I guess, some of your personal motivations and just our grandfather's story, the origins, the challenges, and where you see in the future. And
Hmm.
especially for listeners, if you have an interest in content creation, business, or if you're just a fan of OGS, I think this is a great episode. I hope you learned something from it. So, Kayan, yes, let me ask you again for the second time. Growing up, what were your motivations or rather your main interest in school? Do you really have an inclination to storytelling or media?
Okay. I guess growing up, I didn't know that I was gonna be in the media industry.
Okay.
It wasn't that clear to me, lah. It wasn't, clear to me that hey, I'm gonna start like a startup in future, right?
Sure.
As a kid, I just like to watch a lot of shows, a lot of TV shows. Yeah, just because it's like a lazy thing to do, and I
Okay.
like to just like laze around and just like watch TV. Yeah, so that's like I guess my favorite pastime.
Wow,
Yeah,
cool.
so which is why I guess maybe somehow like influenced me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's why I like to create shows for people now. Yeah.
Cool. Like, what were some of the shows that you remember watching, your favorite ones?
Wow. Some of the favorite shows. Okay, I didn't have cable TV, so I watched a lot
Okay.
of like Channel 8,
Right?
uh,
Oh,
Kids
really?
Central.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I watched a lot of that. Yeah, Kids Central, Channel 8, yeah, usual
Then,
stuff. Lah.
okay.
Yeah, but I didn't have cable TV unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah. So
So
consume a lot of
not
like
much American
local content.
dramas, more local lah. Okay.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think I consume a lot of like local content.
Sure.
A lot of documentaries also.
Right.
Yeah, this might be a bit old, but my one of the favorite documentary shows is like Frontline on Channel 8.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So yeah,
Okay.
that was
What?
I guess there was a time when everyone still watched TV lah.
Yeah, it's
Now it's
true. It's
like you
true.
don't really watch TV.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah.
opened up a completely new like media landscape, right? But last time I used to remember, Under One Roof, Pachukang. I mean, we're around the
Mm,
same age, lah. So I guess
yeah.
some of these shows, and of course, my favorite, I I guess you can consider a TV show, anime, Pokemon.
Mm.
That was the only show. I don't know whether you watch Pokemon. That was the only show
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
followed
watched it
with it,
also.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Saturday 9 a.m. bobbing down to that song.
yeah.
That's the only thing I really followed religiously. But okay, cool. So I think you grew up watching a lot of shows. In school, was there any competitions or like passion projects that you worked on?
Uh, Passion projects. I mean,
Yeah.
not maybe once or twice. Like I think probably produce some videos in secondary school.
Mm.
I think there's probably one called like animation. I
Oh,
think they
yes,
probably
yes,
still
yes.
have it now today. Yeah, stuff like
Uh,
that. But I mean, it wasn't like serious stuff. I think it was just playing around. I guess also learned some video making in secondary school. Um, in secondary school, very interestingly, I did like 3D animation also. Not the most common thing, but it was actually an O-level subject. Yeah, but I can't do animation now because I didn't pursue that. Yeah, but we have a great animation team here
Yeah.
called O+. Yeah, so
Yes.
they do like all the animation and
Do support
illustrations.
it. It's the newest kind of content pillar of OGS, right? Very unique visual storytelling. Wow, and
Yes,
I want to
yeah.
talk about it later also, the branding and how all your pillars are so aligned to your brand. But cool. Okay, so those were the things that you did growing up. And in terms of entrepreneurial wise, right, did you have any entrepreneurial influence growing up?
Uh, I mean, not really. I wouldn't say I was the guy
Okay.
that went out to sell things and all that. Yeah,
Mm,
so yeah, I think I was quite like a chill person, like really just
okay.
like watch TV every day. Yeah,
Okay.
so but of course, like I mean, maybe later on, I guess, probably there are people that I look up to. People like I think one of the people that I always think is great is like Steve Jobs. Yeah,
Mm,
the big fan of Steve Jobs and Apple.
I
Yeah,
see.
so
Right.
yeah, I mean, but that was probably like when I was older, lah. Yeah,
Right. Right. Yeah, you
yeah.
spoke a lot about pushing boundaries as well. I think the TED talk that I watched in Neon, was it Nanyang or Neon Poly? You did a TED talk, right? You talked about pushing boundaries. So I guess Steve Jobs also really believed a lot in innovation and pushing boundaries. Um, so I get transitioning into, of course, how OGS started. You started in Wikimbi School of Communications, which is the school I also went to.
Mm,
We're in fact 1 year apart, but I've never seen you, and you probably never seen me around in school because I
mm.
probably was hardly in school. But I want to ask about Wikimbi, right? So like, was it a clear decision for you to go into NTU comms?
Uh, I think, I guess somewhat yes. I mean, I kind of knew I wanted to uh, do comms.
Okay.
I mean, and so I think that was probably since after secondary school. I wanted to go into film sound video and do like a diploma, but I ended up not doing that because it
Mm,
would take one extra year. So
yeah.
then I went to NS and decided to go to uni.
Okay.
Thankfully, my grades were okay enough. But I think I probably just scraped through. I'm not a top student. Yeah, then I guess coming to comms, there are not many comm schools in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
So, and I guess Wikibee looks like it'll be a nice place. So yeah, just somehow ended up there.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
And yes, I guess that's how we can transition also into eventually how our grandfather's story started. So it was a
Mm.
photojournalism class. Yeah, and then so I guess maybe I can ask, right, for the viewers who probably don't know the context, right? How did OGS start, and was there a vision for it at the beginning?
Okay, so we actually started out as an assignment in one
Mm,
of our classes, yeah, called the Advanced Photojournalism module. Yeah, so
okay.
the assignment was to create a visual startup. Yeah, so at the start we already, I mean, it was conceptualized with an intention that it will be a startup, right?
Mm,
I think just that whether it was going to succeed or fail, we didn't know, lah, right? But
mm,
I think when we first launched, like our videos, our social media pages, things when things went quite well,
mm,
the videos picked up, there was traction and all, yeah. So after the whole thing ended, we decided, why not? Let's just continue this because like I think you don't just put out things and it gets traction, right? It's quite
yeah.
rare, yeah, to this age. Yeah, so then we decided, okay, let's just continue trying that. I mean, at that point it was year 3. We had one more year of school after that. We
Mm,
could still do other things, lah. Yeah,
okay.
so then I guess, but things just went quite well, and yeah, so I think that's why we're here
Sure.
today. Mm.
And you shared that also that in the TED talk that people said Singapore is boring, right? You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, and you said that's not true because there are a lot of stories that can be told, a lot
Mm.
of hidden stories that is
Mm.
among us. But yeah, I just thought of the game. But yeah, sorry, there's among us, but we don't really explore.
Mm.
So I think OJS kind of filled that gap to tell stories that were hidden. But when the first video that kind of went viral was the green and pink bread, right? Was
Yes.
it right?
Yeah, it
So
was the rainbow bread video. Yeah,
yeah.
so the rainbow bread video was the first video that kind of went viral.
Mm.
Yeah, so um, at that point of time, there was this article on BuzzFeed that kind of dissed the
Oh
rainbow
yeah,
bread. Yeah, saying that how can you eat ice cream with bread,
yeah.
something like that. Yeah, so we thought like it was still quite fresh during that time. So we thought like but we've never actually seen how it was being made. So
Yeah.
we went down to like just shoot the process. It was a very simple
Yeah.
video,
1 minute and a half.
nothing complicated. Yeah, and surprisingly, people were interested in that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, then it kind of went viral and stuff lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting though. Like, would you have imagined that? I think you were saying you were surprised as well, right? Um, what was the feeling like for you all when you see the views going up and people commenting? Was it like exhilarating? Was it something that what was the feeling like?
I think it was like I mean, it was quite surprising, lah. When
Mm,
we first saw it gaining traction. Yeah, so I mean, it's like 50% of it is planning and 50% of it is luck, I would say.
yeah.
I mean, we kind of like had a strategy that, hey, might be something that people are interested in.
Mm,
And then like 50% was just luck, lor. Yeah, so at that point of time, I think we were just quite surprised. Yeah, but of course, like quite happy that, we get to showcase something that people have not seen before.
mm.
Yeah, that something you normally don't think about, because it's just like, it's very normal for us to just eat ice cream bread, but you don't
Yeah,
think about it. Yeah, so it was cool for us, lah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think knowing the stories behind everyday items innately, or I mean, we both know this, right? Both of us love stories. Stories are the most powerful form of communication, the most perennial, persuasive form of communication. A tradition is passed down by stories. So I guess maybe that could be one reason why people took to it, lah, because
Mm.
it's like an everyday item that they feel for, that they connect with, but then knowing the origins behind it is something refreshing. And I think the author of at that point of time, he also got featured in the Straits Times, and the author did say that it's a refreshing change in the landscape that, sometimes arguably it's just focused on stirring outrage and sensationalize, the typical media stuff, lah, the
Mm.
clickbaity stuff. So you said that, we wanted to stick to our intent and vision to, not to just serve up sensational content, but really focus on the brand, right?
Mm.
So that was, and with that, you expanded OGS, which is what I guess we can talk about now, how
Mm.
you expanded it. So in the first 1-2 years of business, right? Like you said, all of four of you, three of you, probably didn't have very. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? But you probably didn't have any very extensive business experience,
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then.
we didn't.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't have much like experience with like business,
Okay.
and we were all classmates, so we all came from com school,
Yeah.
like all with a comms background.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
it's not the usual team that you put together.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's interesting. I want to ask about that.
yeah.
So in the
Mm.
first 2 years of business, right?
Mm.
Me before asking about the challenges, right? What was the most exciting part of the process of expansion in the first 2 years?
Uh, Exciting part. I think one of the most exciting part is probably being in a position to tell all these stories. Yeah, cause like I mean we never thought that we could start something and be the ones to be able to drive this,
Yeah.
tell all the different stories we have in Singapore. Yeah, so I think that is probably one of the most like happy thing.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Then I mean in terms of challenges, we had to figure out like how to run it as a startup, as a
Yes.
business.
Mm,
How do we make money, how do we find the clients, how
mm,
do we make it work for the clients. Yeah,
sure.
so those were difficult at the start.
Mm,
Yeah, so and the media industry is a very competitive space. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not the easiest space to operate in.
Yeah.
I mean it's like very easy to start something, I guess. Like you can easily start a show,
Yes.
a podcast, a YouTube channel, but to keep it running for a long period of time,
Yeah.
extended period of time, and
It
turn it into a
is.
business, it's difficult. Yeah.
Right. It's incredibly difficult. It's what I'm facing now, actually, thinking about how I can grow and monetize the podcast. That's why looking at y'all, it's just an inspiration. And like you said, you were just like me, right? Not much business experience previously. Was there any fear or doubt during this period? Like, or times where you considered like, oh man, might not work out. I have to go back to a full-time job. Or was it like all in already?
I guess probably the first few months, when we were first still
Mm,
building the content, building the base of audience. I think there is some kind of fear, that it wouldn't work out, right? But also, I guess, like what I said, we were lucky in the sense that at that point of time, because we really didn't have much to lose.
Okay.
If we fail, then like we can go and find a job after we graduate. Yeah. So there was that one factor also,
Okay.
which I guess not everyone might be fortunate enough to be in that position.
Mm.
Yeah. So maybe let's say, for example, if you graduate already and you're trying to start something, I don't know, maybe your parents might object to it, or if they'll be like, hey, can you go and find a job?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Yeah. So we were lucky in the sense that, at that point of time, we really just tried. Yeah. If we failed, then fail. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in the sense that failure, that the worst case scenario was something that you could accept lah, and the upside was a lot greater. So you just went for it.
In the end, yeah.
Okay. Question I'd like to ask on, you talked about the learning process earlier. What was there any, do you have any mentors that helped you in the learning process, or was it just purely through like trial and error, reading, figuring things out, failing?
I would say a lot of it was trying things out lah, in the bulk of it. Just like trying out a lot of ways to do things, experiencing a lot of failures. Of course, we do like talk to people as well. People who have already been through the journey,
Yeah.
and learning from their experience, and also like reading up and researching like a lot, on, for example, things like business models,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah, so it's a combination of, I guess, multiple things. But yeah, I would say a lot of things are learned the hard way lah. Like really just doing it and experiencing failures. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can we just pause a little bit, digress, and talk a little bit about failures and setbacks? Because this podcast is about resilience, and youth, especially nowadays, there's a crisis of mental health and low levels of resilience. So, do you have any advice for youth who, I guess, might be facing certain failures or setbacks, or they might want to start something but they have fears to do it? Yeah.
I guess one thing would be always try to at things like objectively, and be very like disciplined about certain things like trying, like testing, right? So of course you feel sad that something doesn't work out, but then again, like you have to understand that it's part of the process, right? So like don't take it too hard. Yeah. I mean, like some of the times when we feel very sad is like, for example, oh, we put out a video that we worked really hard on, but the response is just bad. Yeah. And you'll feel sad about that. Yeah, but you shouldn't be hard on it too much, like it's a marathon, honestly. So like, with that, what you should do is to learn about, okay, why did that fail? And then you can go on to create like greater things with that learning experience. Yeah, so I would say like, or you should be critical of yourself, but don't be too hard on yourself. Like, it's a marathon.
Long game,
it's a very long game. Yeah, so you should always like take in like lessons learned and then like apply it on to the next, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate the sharing. I think it's really useful. I think we're kind of programmed to think short term with our grades, achievements, and like you said, content creation in particular, media, it's a long game. Like if you want to monetize it and keep going, you cannot be especially because you put in so much effort and then one video doesn't get traction and then you quit. It's I guess you won't really achieve that potential lah if let's say you don't keep going. Okay, let's talk about business and entrepreneurship a little bit, because branding is a big part of course, success in this landscape, and a huge part of our grandfather's story is a strong brand. In your opinion, what has helped like OGS stand out?
What has helped OGS stand out? I guess one of the first things would probably be our name.
Okay.
Probably not the most common name. But still something relatable. I think that definitely helped, because every time we mention the name, when we first started out, people are always taken aback, like, hey, like, wow, why your name so funny? Yeah, so and of course along the way, I think in terms of branding, like we really tried to brand it properly at the start. like I think it helped us, a lot lah. Like, and also branding in terms of like figuring out what kind of content we wanted to do, and branding also, of course, in terms of like design, like logo design, how things gonna look like. So we paid quite some attention to that, even though we were still starting out. Yeah, so I think that really helps to give us, a very cohesive look. Yeah, so that, you can build on the brand, like people can get to know the brand. Yeah, so that's something that's quite, I guess, important.
Sure.
Yeah, to figure out like at the start.
Okay, thanks for I relate to that quite a bit because everything's about storytelling, the different segments like flavors, even food, yes, right? Food, but actually the story behind the food as well. Generations, which is traditions, neighbors, and of course my favorite segment, offbeat, can ask me section. It's something that I actually envisioned doing. So seeing it there was very nice lah. But Singapore really needs more awareness into such issues and more empathy. So I really enjoyed that segment. You should check it out. I have no idea what I'm talking about, right? Like I say it's a crime. You should probably just go on YouTube and search Can Ask Man, watch some videos. Yeah. But yeah, and now of course O Plus, right? Could you share a little bit about O Plus? Maybe it's a very unique thing actually.
Okay. So O Plus is our animation and illustration brand. Yeah. So we create animated shorts and also like web comics. Yeah. So we started O Plus because like really also to tell stories. One of the reasons was because we found that there were some stories that were very difficult to tell with just like the usual visuals, like shooting people. Yeah, because there was just nothing to shoot for some topics, right? Like let's say you talk about mental health.
Yeah.
There's nothing there to shoot. Yeah, because it all happens inside your head, right? So we thought, like, why not let's use another medium, which is animation, to try to tell stories. Yeah, so that was how the O Plus brand was born. But the purpose still stays the same, which is to educate and also entertain people at the same time. Yeah, so then with that, this year I think we also launched some things like web comics, to cater more for like the Instagram audience. Yeah, where comics are a little bit more popular.
Yes. And this, I guess, falls in the idea of pushing boundaries, right? You mentioned.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate a bit more about that? Like, what does that mean to you? Like pushing boundaries.
I would say like is trying things even though they are difficult and might seem like very unachievable. Yeah. So like for example, like animation is really difficult. It takes up a lot of time, a lot of resources. Why on earth would you like try to create this, for like social media? Yeah, does it even make sense? Like sometimes it's quite hard to reconcile that. Yeah. So for example, like because animation is so like expensive to do, right? Most of the time you probably see as a TV show, as a movie, etc. Yeah, you probably won't see it as like social media content. Yeah, but there's something where we try to push the boundaries. Try something crazy that people don't really do, and then we see whether it succeeds. Yeah, so I would say like right now, whether is it very successful, I don't think it's very successful, but I think we have learned quite a bit of lessons from it through the process. There are some successes though, of course. Yeah, so like I think our animated shorts and our web comics have been quite well received. Yeah, so but it's not like the mind-blowing success. You know what I mean? Yeah, so and I'll say that is really like pushing boundaries. Yeah, like really like committing to what your dreams are and what you think might work and really just trying it out.
And when Singaporeans speak about OGS, right, what do you want them to say or feel?
For them to say or feel? I guess I will probably hope that they can say that they've learned quite a bit from the work that we've done. Yeah, so because like our mission is really to educate and entertain people. Yeah, so we don't just want to entertain, like you watch a video already, then you don't really take away anything from it. Yeah, so ideally someone can say that videos really enjoyed it and I've learned something from it. Yeah, so that is really what I hope for people to say about OGS.
It's funny you actually mentioned that, Kai Yuan, because like I actually put out Insta stories asking the same question. What's the impression of OGS? And all the replies that I got, if I might read out some of them right over here.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay.
I got like many replies, like, and they're all exactly what you mentioned. Meaningful content, I learned a lot from it. Very local content, easy to digest, heartwarming, produces content that's inclusive and educational,
Hmm.
very authentic and relatable. One of my favorite YouTube channels. Yeah, so really cool. It's exactly your branding is on the spot.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
uh, but
Guess we
again,
make hopefully we can continue to do that.
yes, I'm sure you will with the team, with the strong team. And speaking of which, I guess for me, I guess it's hard for me to visualize it because I guess I'm a small content creator, and yes, people have given me a bit of feedback about my content helping them, which I appreciate very much. But on the scale that y'all do, right, y'all have so many positive feedback. Um, like reading through the content, for example, just the comments on YouTube, right? I mean, generally really positive. Do you know, just a quiz, right? Do you know who's your biggest fan?
Biggest fan.
Yeah,
Uh, now you mean on YouTube?
yeah. In general, in general, you pay close enough attention, you might figure it out.
I can't remember, as in, but I
Okay,
mean
it's
I've
called
seen
his name is
some
called
people.
Ray Mark. He
Oh,
comments on
okay.
almost every video. He's a pianist. He's a Malaysian pianist that actually has quite a lot of subs, But almost every YouTube video, his comment is there, and yeah, and then yeah, he a lot of likes. His comment always gets a lot of likes. Yeah, so I was thinking, wow, this Ray Mark is consumes everything that you put out. Yeah, but okay, back to my question, right? I think does it get to you all sometimes that hey, um, people are saying good things about us. How do you keep yourself grounded and also find an avenue for constructive criticism? Are there constructive criticism?
Definitely lah. I would say, like, I would say there are
Yeah,
criticisms as well.
sure.
That we get sometimes. In the form of, let's say, comments on social media
Mm,
sites like Facebook, Instagram,
yeah.
YouTube. Sometimes people do write into us also,
Mm,
to say, hey, I think this is not so right. Maybe you could have done this better, etc.
mm,
Yeah, so I think we are always quite mindful of what the feedbacks are. Yeah, so we also do like take a look at them and see how like we can do better. Lor. Yeah, so
mm,
I mean, we have also, not everything we do, I would say, is perfect. Yeah, so internally, we also keep trying to improve, trying to see how we can do things better. Um, and we constantly, I would say, solicit feedback. Yeah,
sure.
may it be from like internal like colleagues, or sometimes
Yeah,
even from like external outsiders.
quite.
Yeah, and see how we can improve. Mm.
Yeah, I think what strikes me about you also, you're really down to earth. Despite OGS success, right? Only on the surface, you can say that in 4 years, it's built a really strong brand for itself. But the fact that you are constantly improving and just very down to earth with everything is really heartwarming to see also. Uh, again, last question on this segment, right? On
Mm.
business. What do you feel are the key ingredients to your business success?
Key ingredients. I think one of the key ingredients would be probably be having a good team.
Mm,
Yeah. So I think without a good team, like it's difficult to build, something coherent and something like a good business. Lah. Yeah,
mm,
because like ultimately, you need a good team to be able to keep driving like creativity, keep driving like your progress. Yeah,
mm,
because otherwise like you probably won't be in a good place. Lah. Yeah, so and also I think the probably second thing would be figuring out um like your business model. Yeah, so
mm,
and be very clear about it lah, as much as possible. Yeah, so I think probably for a lot of startups, like at the start, the business model is not very clear. I think
mm,
for us at the start, it wasn't very clear. Also, we were still trying to figure it out, but I think we managed to figure it out quite quickly,
mm,
which was good for us. Yeah. So I would say if you don't manage to figure that out in the early stages, then it'll be very painful, lah. Yeah, because ultimately if you're trying to run a business, right, you need to know who your customers are, what's your products, how you're going to sell it, and how you're going to make money. Yeah, I mean, to be very realistic,
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
it's a business, right?
Mm.
Yeah, if it's a hobby, then, it's totally fine. You can do anything you want. Yeah, it
Mm.
doesn't really matter, right? But if it's a business, then you have got to figure out those things. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. That, I guess, concludes the segment on the current expansion of OGS. I'll just like to ask about the future before I conclude with some personal reflections, lah, if you don't
Hmm.
mind.
Okay.
But in terms of the future of OGS, right, COVID-19 has been a challenge, I presume,
Hmm.
for the
Yes.
company. What was the main impact on business, and how does it stay resilient in such times?
Okay. I think I would say COVID definitely has affected everyone.
Mm.
Um, but I wouldn't say that we are the most badly affected industry. Yeah. So if you look at the many industries out there, I think there are other industries that's worse hit than
Mm.
media lah. So for example, like travel, um, F&B industry. So I think they have been hit very, very bad, right?
Mm.
Yeah, for us, I think it has hit us in a way where, okay, so for us, we do a lot of documentaries. I mean, one of the things that we couldn't do was to shoot documentaries, carry on production. So there's a very immediate impact. Yeah. So we very quickly had to figure out, like, innovate. How do we go around, like, try to work around this problem? Um, yeah, so that's why we came up with, like, comics, right? That's one of the reasons we came up with comics also. And also how do we produce, like, videos, like, from home. Yeah, so there were some of the challenges that was involved. Yeah, so, and also figuring out, I mean, more on the business side would be, how do we ensure that as much as possible we don't fire anyone? How do we keep everyone in the team? Ensure that we can go through this whole period together. Yeah,
Mm.
so that was quite challenging for us, especially because, like, we are still pretty young company in
Mm.
2020. It's not like we are operating for 10 years and
Mm.
we everything figured out on how
Yeah,
to continue through a pandemic. Yeah,
got it. Got
yeah,
it. Okay, but I'm glad that you seem to be doing okay.
yeah. I think we are okay. Yeah, I'll say we are okay. Um, yeah,
Okay.
not that bad. Yeah.
And what's the vision like OGS has, if there's one?
Um, I think for us is really to, um, we hope that we can continue to tell more stories, not just in Singapore, but also in the Southeast Asia region. Yeah, so because we feel like the region is so close, right? But then, like, we don't really know much about each other, even though we are connected in so many ways.
Mm.
Yeah, so hopefully, we can tell more stories about that, and also
Right,
bring the region closer together, like
right.
how we bring Singapore closer together. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
so and also, like, I guess, to continue innovating in the space,
yeah.
um, to constantly tell better stories as we go
Amazing.
along. Yeah.
That's really amazing. I think you put it really nicely, like bringing Singaporeans together to understand common pride, lah. I think one thing about OGS people do say is that it's kind of, people might say there's extension of government, whatever, but it's pride, right? It's pride in our national heritage, because, like you said, some people shit on our heritage and tradition and say that we don't have much, but actually you are showing that it's not true, lah. So that's really powerful. Uh, okay, I guess we can end off with some personal reflections. One or maybe a couple of questions that you can answer in. Of course, you can take your time to answer them, but they're meant to be,
Okay.
like kind of like a quick fire round. But just take your time to answer them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, first question: do you have a favorite video?
Favorite video.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite video is like one of our first few videos for a client, Nippon Paint.
Mm.
It was a video about this Hindu tradition of bringing cows to homes for house
Yeah.
blessings. Yeah, when you
Okay.
first move into a house. Yeah, so I mean, favorite for multiple reasons. Now, it was a paid client. Yeah, so that was
Okay.
great. One of the first few
Sure.
clients. Yeah, and also, like, it was something that a story that we really chanced upon. Actually on Storm. Yeah,
Mm.
because there was this
Oh
photo
yeah.
of, like, some
Oh, yeah,
guy
cow.
holding a cow waiting at the lift. Yeah, and then we went to find out what it was. Yeah, then we actually stumbled upon this story.
Okay.
Yeah, then everything kind of like gelled together. Yeah, and it was interesting for us also to really learn about these kind of traditions and cultures. Yeah, so that was quite like special to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Mm.
In business, you meet a lot of failures, as you mentioned earlier. What has helped you to stay resilient personally?
Stay resilient personally. Yeah.
Mm.
I guess I don't know.
You seem like stoic a little bit.
I don't know, man. This is a difficult question. I don't know. Maybe like doing yoga helps.
Is it? Oh,
Like,
wow. Okay.
I think like, uh, I think it's like I guess like what I said earlier,
Yeah, yeah.
like not being sometimes not being too hard on yourself.
Okay.
Like I would say I'm quite critical of myself, but sometimes I try to like take a step back and
Mm,
not be too harsh. Yeah, I
sure,
think that will like help a little bit.
sure.
I think constantly, I would say we are constantly under stress, as
Yeah,
like thinking about it, how to make it better, and so on and so
yeah.
forth. Yeah, so I think a lot of times it's really just giving yourself like a break,
Right, I understand.
and not pushing like too
I
hard.
understand.
Yeah, it
Right.
is for the long run.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it, got it. Well, that really relates to me a lot. And it feels like a very calm vibe. Like I'm not even running anywhere close to the scale that you are running. And I'm already frantically sometimes, like you said, like having anxiety over certain things, whether I can do it right or not. But at your scale, the number of videos that you produce, I'm sure there are a lot of headaches, but you seem to be just very objective and, focused about it, which is really nice to see. All right. Third question. In your TED talk, you shared one key point on being curious by being human first. But could you elaborate more on what that means?
Okay, sure. I think like curious is like
Yeah.
storytellers, right? Like you have to constantly be on the lookout, for
Mm,
stories. So constantly being very curious about what happens around you,
mm,
why they happen, and looking at how you can tell these stories well. So that's really being curious, lah. But being humans is really more of like, um, I think we need to treat like the stories we tell like with a lot of care, the profiles that we meet
mm.
with a lot of care. We are kind of like the middleman, right, telling the
Yeah.
story, and we actually have a lot of power in a sense that, like, for example, let's say like you feature something, right,
Yeah.
and that thing does very well, like, oh, there's a lot of business,
Yeah.
or like, well, everybody criticized this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like power in that.
Yes.
Yeah, so but
Mm,
really like you have to understand, I guess as a human, what should you do and what should you not do, and
right.
also like treating the profiles with a lot of respect.
Respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just really like treating them as your friends,
Mm,
as a human, not
yeah.
just like, hey, this is a
Fine. Yeah.
story, I'm gonna come in and tell this story, then bye, yeah, I'm
Okay.
gone. Yeah, so I think like for us, because we have a lot of like power in that sense, we
Right.
need to be very conscious of that, and we really just like try to think like what is good and what is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really about respecting and representing them well,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
thinking of the potential implications.
Mm.
Well, that is very heartwarming to hear because sometimes it's just for the profit, right? People just say, okay, I'm going to just tell story anyway to make it like sell more. But the fact that you can say that, I think really exemplifies what the brand is about and what people love about it. So, the last question, what is the greatest reward or satisfaction from the work that you do?
Greatest reward. I think the greatest reward is to be able to see all these stories, like like the fruits of our labor, like all these stories online. Um, yeah, cause so and it reaching out to like a huge group of audience lah. May it be from Singapore or maybe like from overseas.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it's really like something that we're always very happy about. Yeah, and of course like being able to have a team that you know is so passionate about telling stories. Yeah, so I would say like that's really great. Yeah.
okay. Well, thank you so much. I think with that, we have kind of come to the end of the podcast. On behalf of course, the fans of OGS as well as myself, I want to thank you for creating this platform, for
Thank
setting
you.
the trail for content creators like myself to be inspired, and also for Singaporeans to, like you said, hear stories and come closer together as a nation. It's really important and powerful work that all of you are doing. And I really appreciate you once again taking the time to speak to me about this. Is there any last message you want to share with viewers or fans or whoever?
Last message.
Yeah.
Yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep watching out for stuff. And of course, like, I mean, please always leave your feedback because like I think
Hmm.
that's important to us. Whether it's good or it's bad. Always want to try to like tell better stories. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, leave your comments for us.
Okay. Yeah, with that, thank you all so much for listening in. Thanks you, Karen, for being on the show. Stay resilient, stay healthy, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.